So one of the issues that residents in Pershore raised with me at that meeting was something that's common in lots of communities in West Mercia and in the UK, which is about antisocial behaviour. Um, they perceive that some elements of antisocial behaviour went unchecked and indeed didn't appear to be addressed. Interested in your views, or your assessment of the levels of antisocial behaviour in Pershore, and ultimately the kind of work your teams are doing to address it.
Thank you, John. Firstly, what I would like to say is thank you for the opportunity. I'm conscious that I wasn't there at the meeting to have this conversation in public. It's really encouraging that I can have this opportunity now, and I know moving forward, either myself or my Chief Inspector, Brian Gibbs, will also attend the future meeting that's held. You're quite right, antisocial behaviour is an issue that affects every community across the country. It clearly doesn't just affect Pershore or South Worcestershire or West Mercia for that fact. That said, it doesn't make it any less impactful for the community. And I do understand how when people are at home, enjoying their own private lives, going about their business, behaviour that is antisocial and also bordering on criminal behaviour, the impact that can have on the members of the public. Within Pershore itself, we saw a spike of antisocial behaviour, particularly at the beginning of the year. We've worked hard to identify the 8 locations of those antisocial behaviour incidents, and also to put in place not just a police response to antisocial behaviour, but also a wider response involving our partners and agencies. As I said, within Pershore, we have a Safer Neighbourhood team, and the Safer Neighbourhood team work hard in conjunction with our analytical support to identify the locations of the incidents that are reported. And this very much relies heavily on those incidents that are reported to us through our communication channels, but also obviously what our Safer Neighbourhood officers see and hear when they are about in the community. And as a result of their conversations and the information that we have received, we were able to identify specific hotspots, locations, for want of a better word, that we could then really target and address some of the powers that we have to tackle antisocial behaviour.
And I recently went out with PC Hunt in Pershore, actually looking at some of the antisocial behaviour hotspots. And one thing that was very clear, PC Hunt's work is very well known. People knew her first name, and indeed it was very obvious not the first engagement, both those that might be causing the antisocial behaviour, but also other residents in the town. I just think it would be useful for you just to articulate a little bit about some of the powers that the police and partners have got around tackling antisocial behaviour and the kind of things that are actually happening with those powers in the town.
Of course, yeah. So antisocial behaviour, we will grade, we will scale between the levels of 1 to 3 in terms of our intervention, and this is based upon high harm, repeat location, repeat offender, repeat victims, and so in terms of our response, we will then issue a number of either letters escalating up into civil orders that we can then impose on the perpetrators of antisocial behaviour. This is targeted at ensuring that those involved understand that the behaviour that they're undertaking is antisocial and the impact that it can have on the community. And then clearly, if they choose to continue with that behaviour, then the civil orders give us greater power in order to address that and really take them to court if necessary. In conjunction, we have dispersal orders. So again, these rely heavily on an accumulation of information that we can then present and issue a dispersal order to a particular location. And I'm aware that this has been undertaken at various locations within Pershore.
And the idea being in the legislation, how I understand it works, you don't just go straight in at the top. It's an escalatory process, and it's designed actually to give people the chance to change their behaviour. And there's the interventions at the different levels as well. So it's not just a case of serve a letter and then they go straight off then to the order. There's got to be given the chance to reform on the way through.
Absolutely, and we have to balance at all times people's own rights to gather in public spaces, and a lot of the concerns that we do hear are around the perceptions of people gathering, and then obviously the potential that this has in causing harm to communities. And we have a real balance to strike to ensure that, yes, we respond to communities' concerns, but actually we allow our younger people to gather in open spaces and behave in an appropriate manner, so long as that isn't antisocial or obviously criminal.
Some of the antisocial behaviour linked to licensed premises in the town. There's a big Asda supermarket. There's a smaller Tesco's Express, to name two of the particular shops. How do you work with, because they're licensable activities, licensing and very clear restrictions, and they have a role about also reducing antisocial behaviour, indeed not causing it in relation to their licensable activity. How have you got a sense of how effective that work is with those licensed premises, and what more potentially could be done to help reduce the potential impact of that licensable activity in the well-being of the town?
So through the Safer Neighbourhood team, but also with the support of my problem solving hub, which is a separate team that looks very much at the preventative aspect of our roles, we have a set licensing officer whose role is exactly as you've just described there, to engage with companies, businesses that have a license, and ensure that they are complying with the right regulations in terms of supplying liquor to people of age, etc. Again, it's a multi-agency approach. This has to be in conjunction with other regulatory authorities whose role is to comply and enforce people that aren't adhering to those licence conditions. But I'm really pleased with Pershore because we've had a really good link with our retail premises. We operate we're part of a shop watch scheme. And recently we've had an additional 19 retail premises sign up to that shop watch scheme, which really gives us the opportunity to work as a very small, very taskable unit with the police supporting retailers in tackling antisocial behaviour and retail theft.
These often sites are, as is the Asda location, it is unfortunately, fortunately it's in the centre of the town for being accessible and part of the retail activity, but it also has quite a focused small square amongst it, which can feel quite hemmed in. So it's good to hear the work between the licensable activity and the actual community itself. Lastly, around antisocial behaviour, how do you, as the policing commander for South Worcestershire, how do you rebuild that confidence of the public that the force are dealing with antisocial behaviour in a proportionate and responsible way in their community in Pershore?
Well, I think it's really important, firstly, to acknowledge that I didn't have the appropriate resourcing initially, and that is purely and simply because of the recruitment into the Safer Neighbourhood posts and the PCSO posts. We are now fully established, and we have 2 Safer Neighbourhood officers in Pershore, supported by 4 PCSOs. I also operate a 24/7 policing base from Evesham, who have a direct tasking to patrol through Pershore and obviously address and support the Safer Neighbourhood work. In addition, we operate around problem-solving profiling, so very much looking again at the preventative approach, what we can do in conjunction with our community safety partners, who look at aspects, as you've just mentioned, around security, lighting, CCTV. From a policing perspective, I'm just about to introduce a very bespoke team called the Neighbourhood Crime Fighting Team, whose main work is to operate within the community, addressing neighbourhood issues, responding to the high harm that is caused within our community, and also to manage some of our highest harm nominals. We call them IOM nominals. They are individuals who are offenders who really cause significant harm to the communities. This bespoke team of a sergeant and 10 officers will operate on addressing neighbourhood issues, and I see very much the support of the Safer Neighbourhood team, the problem solving team and the Neighbourhood Crime Fighting team to deploy in areas where antisocial behaviour is an issue will have a very big impact on addressing that.